Hey, it's GP with Central Idaho Mountain Weather. It's December 8th, 2025. Looking out at the atmospheric river that's beginning to hit the coastline and will hit us in the next 24 hours. And this is lining up to be an AR4 on the scale, just on the low end of that. So, pretty strong one that's going to bring in lots of moisture for our northern zones. Play back the HER here, the HER model. You can see that moisture starts to work its way into the Sawtooths tonight, and then throughout the night, got some pretty good bands of moisture here. And then you can see right here, it kind of does a little swivel. The fire hose does a little swivel and points more direct on us Tuesday night. So Tuesday night, it looks like we're going to be getting a little bit more moisture. These are what the totals are looking like from the National Weather Service out of Pocatello. You can see 18 to 24 inches in the higher grounds. Very big difference from the valley floor. Unfortunately, this is going to bring very warm temperatures, especially for this time of year, with this atmospheric river. Let's get into the nitty gritty of that, because that's going to make or break where you're going to find all this snow. That's all this precip turning into snow. So tonight it's going to rise, the snow level is going to rise up to about 7,600 feet, give or take 500. And then Tuesday night, when we're getting more of that moisture, it's going to get all the way up 87 to 8,900 feet in places. So really high rain line there. Not going to do well for giving us that that early season base, and it's just going to make things weird out there. Anytime you have rain on snow, things are going to get a little spooky. Nice little transition. We have our first day of the Avalanche Center doing an advisory for our area, so make sure you check that out from today and the incoming days to stay up to date with what they're seeing out there. And post your observations as well, because that helps them. It helps all of us as a community to post our observations, whether those are private or public. Up to you. All right, looking at the AR here, you can see it's a pretty wide band of moisture compared to how it usually is. It does shrink down a little bit here towards the tail end, and then it kind of drifts and stays above us in the panhandle. So a lot of moisture, I think, at the tail end of this is going to stay above us in the panhandle. You can see it's pulling directly from Hawaii at this point. So we're going to get lots of warm air. In fact, it looks like it's going to be in the lower 50s come the end of this week for down in Haley, which is just nuts. Looking out at how much moisture we're going to see. This is looking out by Wednesday morning, when most of our system, most of the AR moisture is gone by in our area. Looking at totals, approaching 3 inches of water in the Sawtooths. Most of the western and northern zones are going to pick up more snow than the southern zones, which are barely picking up anything out of this. And with atmospheric rivers, you really got to be like lined up perfectly from where that moisture is going to be over. These are pretty narrow, long bands of moisture, hence why they call them rivers. And so if that thing goes to north, south, it could miss you and really miss out on any moisture. So looking at Haley, really not picking up anything out of this. Going back up to the north, show you some differences here for bench lakes. This is like, I think, for around 7,500 feet. You can see quite a bit of difference from the water, 2.8 inches to 9 inches of snow coming out of that. So that's going to be real wet and heavy, and likely change over to rain at some point Tuesday night, it looks like. So yuck. We're going to get most of that, and then it's going to turn to rain. And then if we shift up 1,000 feet to maybe even 2,000, I forget where they have the point forecast for Williams Peak, but dramatic difference. We're seeing 2 feet of snow and 3.7 inches of water. So the Sawtooths are going to be getting hit the hardest out of all these spots and the western spots, Pine, Featherbill, kind of those mountains over there. You can see the snow line is high enough here that it's going to be mostly all snow, except for, really looking like Wednesday morning. Tuesday night and the Wednesday morning is when we're going to have to cross our fingers that the snow line stays lower. So moving on down the list for Titus, same thing. Titus Peak is going to get mostly snow, but you can see those ratios are fairly high for this time of year. That's like 10%. Normally we see around 8% for snow density. And then down by Hyman, really not picking up just a couple tenths of an inch. And some moisture in the future cast. So we'll see what happens. I did want to go back to Haley just to show you those temperatures. We'll see what they changed. Not really. So yeah, by Wednesday, the tail end of this moisture, it's going to be getting into the low 50s, with nighttime temperatures hovering around freezing. This is pretty dang warm. I don't know how warm it is compared to normal. I'd guess 15 to 20 degrees. Big guess there, but yeah, anyways, big amount of moisture coming our way. Really going to depend on how high that snow line gets and where that atmospheric river is pointed over us.